Good morning, students. Welcome you all in English class. How are you all? Hope you all are fine, enjoying at home and studying as well. So, dear children, today I am going to teach you a new lesson, lesson number 3, the desert from your supplementary book, An Alien Hand. Open the book and start reading lesson number 3 with me. So, student, whenever we hear the word desert, what thoughts come in your mind? Desert, dry land, sandy area, no water, very hot climate, no vegetation. This thought always come in people's mind whenever they think or hear about the word desert. But it's people generally perception. Very few people in the world know that desert is also a beautiful place on this earth gifted by God to us. So dear children, today we are going to learn many interesting things about the desert. So let's start the chapter. What people believe about desert? This is already I have told you. The people think it is an endless stretch of sand where no rain falls and no vegetation grows. Is it correct? If you know about the desert, then you cannot think like that. But the people generally think about this. It is a dry, hot, waterless and without shelter. People think that. But it is not entirely correct. This is we will read today in this chapter. The desert is a beautiful place. It is the home of variety of people, animals and plants, those who live there. Why? Because they have learned to live under very hot and dry conditions. They are surviving there because they have adapted the climate and the weather there. So, the ground is not always hidden by a cover of grass, plants and trees as it is in other climates. In the desert, the land is not always covered by trees and grass as it is in other climates. But whenever there is rain, the rain which is very rare in the desert, that time the desert flowers bloom and this sight can be as rewarding as that of any tropical garden. It means in the desert area the rain falls very rare and whenever the rain falls the vegetations grow and the flowers grow and the sight looks so beautiful for the people who can see this sight. Okay. A desert is not always a flat, unchanging wasteland of dry sand. Don't you always think that the desert is always dry land and it will never change? It's not like that. Okay? It may have mountains, it may have hills, it may have an oasis, big or small. An oasis is what? Do you know what is oasis? An oasis is like a green island in the middle of a desert where a spring or a well gives plants and trees a better chance to grow. In this dry land, you can imagine, in this dry land, there is a beautiful place, an oasis, which can be big or can be small. It is there in the middle of a desert. It is there in the middle of desert and it is feeding by the spring and the well there in the desert. Okay. So, next, a desert may be hot like the Thar or cold like Ladakh. Don't you think that desert is always hot? It is cold desert also, and you know very well Ladakh. Okay? But generally speaking, if a place has little or no water and vegetation, people usually call it a desert. Okay? Wherever we find very less water and the land is very dry, we give the name to that place a desert. Okay? So, let's move ahead. Some deserts are always almost totally without water. Okay? In such places, the place which is always without water, in such places strong winds blow and raising heaps of sand. Okay, in this sandy dry land, the strong winds blow and the winds carry the sand with themselves and create a heap of sands and depositing them as mounds. What it creates? It forms a mounds of sand, heap of sand. These are called sand dunes. What it is called? Sand dunes. Student, listen again. The place which is full of sand and there is no water for a long time, there the strong winds blow and the winds carry the sands with itself and create a big heap of sand, and this is depositing the sand at a place, and this is called sand dunes that shift and move endlessly across the desert. Few plants can survive on such dry, shifting sands. Now, when we are talking about the plants and animals, so what thoughts come in your mind? Which animal mostly live there in the desert? The camel, you all know very well. And the main plants of the desert is cactus. So there are many other. Let's read this in this chapter. Okay. All living things need water in order to survive. This is very basic things for us. The few plants and animals that live in deserts have developed the ability to require less water than most plants and animals. The animals and plants, those who adapt themselves for surviving on this earth with less water, they are easily adapting the life of desert. The camel, popularly known as the sheep of the desert, can drink a lot of water at one time, and camels can do without water for days together. This is, we all know very well. At a one, the camels drink lots of water and then it can live without water for many days. The reason is that they sweat very little. Okay, that's why they are not requiring much of water for a long time. But we sweat because we must keep our body temperature constant. Okay, so we sweat when it gets hot and this cools the body and maintain the temperature of our body. Camels can stand high body temperature, but camel did not sweat. It can stand on high body temperature. They don't need to sweat and can therefore retain the water they drink for long periods of time. So, the camels did not sweat. That's why they can retain the water for a long time. Understood? Next is that smaller desert animals don't drink water. They burrow underground during the hot day and come out at night to eat. There are many other small animals. Those who are living in the desert, they dug the burrow. And in the hot times of the day, they hide themselves in their burrow. And at night, they come out from their hole and eat the other insect. In this way, they are surviving there. Some of them eat the other animals and get the water they need from the moisture in the meat. Okay, the animals, those who eat other animals, they get the water from the moisture of their meat. And others, those who eat plants and seed, they get the water they need from the plant juices. Are you getting? The animal, those who eat other animal, they get the water from the moisture of the meat. And the animals, those who eat plants, they get the water from the plant juice. See the next. Desert plants also adapt themselves to the life they lead. Cactus plants store water in their thick stems. You all know that the stems of the cactus is very thick. What is inside the stems? Water. That's why the cactus plants live there comfortably. The roots lie close to the surface of the ground and quickly absorb the moisture from the light rains that occasionally fall. The major feature of all desert is, of course, dryness and variation of temperature. In humid climates, when the climate is very humid, very hot, the moisture in the air acts like a blanket and protects the earth's surface from the hot rays of the sun. In humid climate, what happens? The moisture of the air protects the atmosphere by creating a blanket. Okay, the air acts like a blanket and protects the earth from the surface of the hot rays of the sun. The absence of these blankets in desert lands cause the desert to heat up rapidly. Okay, when this layer of moisture of the earth is absent, so in this condition, the desert rapidly heat up. During the day, bad to cool off rapidly at night. In the daytime, when the moisture of the air is absent, so the daytime, the sand becomes very hot. And in the night, it becomes easily cool. Understood? Deserts are an important part of nature's great plan. They are there like the dense forest. As we have seen the dense deep forest, similarly we have the dense desert. And the deep oceans just because they are hot and dry. As we have seen the dense forest, the deep ocean, similarly we all have the very big, hot and dry land, that is desert, when one should not take look upon them as useless parts of the earth. It is very useful and beautiful place on this earth. So children, I think you have understood this chapter very well. Read the chapter after watching the video